series an average game time of 29 minutes and 30 seconds. We're going to head to Pulse to talk to H2K after that clean sweep.
Thanks, Trevor. I'm joined by Kasing and Odawame after their victory, that crushing victory, honestly. You're now 10-0 over the Giants after all of your encounters. You played a pretty simple game, and people were criticizing you, maybe that you've lost your strategic edge coming into playoffs, but you guys have definitely shut up all of that. So what did you change coming into playoffs?
Well, we kind of like came out of our slump, as people saw, like through our last 3 weeks of LCS. We kind of lost like 4 games and 1 2 only. And it's not like, to be honest, we were playing pretty bad, to be honest, and we kind of just picked up the slack with this kind of break for 1 week where we pretty much tryharded the entire time. And even though it's like Giants, I'm looking forward to play against Origin, who I think, even though we played against, like we lost to them 2-0 in normal split, but I feel like we could maybe win now. So yeah.
Okay, and also coming into playoffs, how was the team mentality? Because you said you were in a bit of a slump, and playoffs were encroaching, obviously very high-pressure situation. How was that for you particularly, Kasing?
Well, for me, like, if I'm ever stressed out or if I just feel like I'm doing really bad, then either I play more or I try out more. I tend to look at more stuff about the game rather than just like relaxing and stuff. Because I feel like if I need to step up, then I feel, well, this is just for myself, but hopefully everyone else like steps up as well.
Well, did you feel the same pressures, Odawame? Because Kasing just mentioned how he went into playoffs. Did you feel any of the mental pressures, or was it just all clean sailing for you?
Well, not really. We were all just kind of stressed out because we were in a big slump, so we weren't performing, so we really needed to pick it up. So we tried really hard in our scrims because until that point we were doing really bad. So it was a bit of a pressure because we need to perform because we did so good in the split, and then the past 2 weeks we just like played really bad and we just started losing. So it was just like on us that we wanted to bounce back to our original shape.
Okay, so coming into this matchup, you guys started the series 2-0, super strong, and then you decided to swap in Betong Yaka, a player we've seen in the Challengers series. Now, Kasing, for you, how was that adapting and having this new player come into that lineup?
Well, it gives us gives Lulex a bit more pressure to actually try hard sometimes. But I think it's good because Betong, he's never really played on stage before, and today was like the first time, well, his debut game. And I did see some missed flashies on the list, but it's fine. Like everyone, like kind of doesn't play the greatest in their first game. So yeah, hopefully it'll get better.
So Odawame, how was that from your perspective as a top laner? Did you feel like you had less pressure in terms of counter ganks, or did you feel that he offered just as much as Lulex?
Well, it was different because the first 2 games we played with Lulex, so I kind of adapted to what he wants to do. So I was just playing around Lulex, and when we changed in our third game, it was kind of different because he had a different mindset than Lulex. So I just had to try to adapt in game and try to just play as safe as possible and just let him do what he wants. If he wants to come to my lane, then we're just going to set it up. But if not, then it's fine.
Well, it was a very strong victory, 3 games in a row, 3-0. Now, looking forwards to Origin now, you guys didn't have the best of performances against them before. Have you guys looked a lot towards Origin in particular in that matchup and how you're going to face them?
Well, even in our losses, like sometimes it was kind of like both teams could have won, and then Origin came out ahead from it. And well, I just feel like having a best of 5 kind of shows us, yeah, who is actually the better team, or who actually can play a better, or one style that you can play in one game. And I think when we play against them next, it'll be an interesting game.
Oh, interesting indeed. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Congratulations on your victory. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to take a look at that game.
Thank you so much, Pulsa. Well, I want to, of course, immediately jump on Betong Joka that was in that game and who may not have super impressed, but I love how Kasing a little cheekily said, well, you know, maybe it will cause Lulex to try hard a little more here and there. I mean, maybe there's a ground of truth in that.
It's a bit of a strange comment, actually, in the interview, considering Lulex tweeted out earlier, time to give Betong Yoke some stage experience. So give different verbiage used, maybe, you know.
I just have to say, I agree so much with H2K as an organization and a team in using a sub now. You're 2-0 already. And yeah, sure, it's going to be more pressure. Also, Lulex can be the bigger man and say we're 2-0. I've done my job. Now Betongyaka can get the credit and win the last game.
I definitely agree with Deficio here. Once you introduce, these subs in these environments, same like for casting, for example, Deficio carried the Spring Split as a color caster, but now he has a sub too. I think overall we can agree that the quality has increased, but on top, no, I think.
No, I think fair.
I'm sure Reddit agrees.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, not really.
At least the selfie game increased. Anyway.
Selfie game definitely increased. No, but I think it's the right move to make, and we see like Betongyaka. I don't think he played the matchup to the full potential. I don't think he played perfect, but it's a good first step. And if there's ever a moment to go in, it's when you're 2-0 in a best of 5 against a team that you are at that point 8-0 or 9-0 ahead in competitive record at the time.
With Betongyaka 10-0 now, H2K have beaten Giants. I think not only we can make the jokes about substitution, I think it actually makes the team need to learn, first of all. H2K have been a team that have not necessarily been the greatest at adapting very rapidly. And now you've got a new player, and that's going to help encourage that. Lulix also has to step up because there's now real threat of replacement. Betongyaka wants to be on the stage, so it's going to encourage some, inter-team rivalry and competition. What this also does, in my opinion, is it adds an extra layer of threat to any team they face going forward, because now you also need to consider what could Betongyaka pull out? What are they scrimming with him that they're not doing with Lulix? Maybe they don't play him again, but the threat is there to play him.
Yeah, we will continue that in just a second because I do hear that Pulse is on stage to talk to Prolly about that game.
Thanks very much, Afia. I'm just sat down here, actually not sat down today, we're actually stood up talking about this game. And I was talking to you just before we went live about kind of the stresses coming into this week and how you're preparing with the team. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Well, this split was really weird for us because we had a lot of pitfalls in terms of results, but it didn't really reflect how we did in scrims. A lot of the strategies we pulled out in scrims, we weren't able to put into LCS. So it put a lot of stress because we didn't really know which kind of H2K would show up on game day. So prior to this, we kind of were in a slump. So coming into Giants is we do have a good track record against them, but this was still a scary point that, maybe we just do everything the opposite we do in scrims. And not to mention we lost 90% of scrims this week. So there was a lot of stress coming in and out, but after all, it's done. Now we're just happy and ready to go to Swedeland.
Well, there was a lot of stress going before the games, but between the games, did you have to say anything to your team, or was it just great job, keep on going, do what you're doing?
No, that's kind of the funny thing with how which H2K is going to show up is after game 1 I was watching, I was like, I don't have to do any work anymore. They're actually playing really good. I can trust them to do this. They don't really show both sides of the dice. They're normally either Jekyll or Hyde. So they actually pulled out the right one this time. So after the first game, it was kind of what did we do really well and how did they actually react to our plays? And a few of the plays that we did, they didn't really have an answer to. So I just kind of told them to repeat that and abuse that fact with them. And I don't know, post-game was really, really easy and really smooth. And I think all the games were pretty good.
Yeah, they were super good. And after 2 of those games, you actually decided to sub in Betongyaka. I wanted to ask you about this. I asked the other guys on your team how it was from a player perspective. But as a coach, why did you decide to put him in the 3rd game, and especially in playoffs as he's just out of the Challenger Series?
Yeah, it was a bit risky in a sense because it was his very first LAN. But backstage watching with him, I could tell he's getting hyped just watching the games. So I knew a lot of those butterflies were kind of out because he already felt like a part of the team. We've been scrimming with him, and we're pretty close with him. So putting him in really wasn't too big of a change for us. I know from the outside it probably looks like a big risk or maybe even disrespect, I heard on Twitter. But it actually wasn't a big problem, and it's kind of just how we fit with different people and how the team changes with different junglers. So it was really nice we were able to kind of experiment with that because a lot of teams aren't able to use their subs. So I was really happy we could do that.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see him be on the big stage here. So now looking forwards over to Origin, you'll be facing them next. Last time you played them, didn't go so well. Have you prepared against them? Do you think there's anything you're going to change up this time you face them?
I don't think we need to do anything really different against Origin. It's mostly kind of defeating ourselves, I think, was our problem against Origin. The very first game in the split that we played against them, we were under-prepared for them. And in the second game, I think we actually had a really good plan against them, and then we just didn't execute it right. Kind of the wrong H2K showed up that day. So I really think it's going to be how hard I can be in practices to kind of grind them into being the right H2K that will win.
Right, well, best of luck on that matchup, Prolly. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst once again to talk about the game.
Thank you so much, Pulse and Prolly. Well, a lot to think about there about what Prolly said. First, though, let's recap what happened in the last game to kind of wrap up these series. I would say I expect a lot more different maybe coming out from Giants, but it was H2K that came out with all the different things in the series, even the Karthus for Ryu with the new jungler in there. How do you think they did in that last game in the adaptation?
I mean, Karthus pick, it's a bit like subbing in a new player again. You sometimes want to try out different things. Again, you're 2-0. You've won the 2-0 game so easily. And I quite like the pick in the setup here because of the composition that was being run on the side of Giants, which was very focused on having to run at you. Again, it's not jumping. It's not really hard engaged. It's not civil ulti run in with flanks. My concern was just, I feel like if Giants had coordinated properly with the Trundle in the side waves, there wouldn't have been a whole lot they could do against it until they got to the Righteous Glory. They were allowed to get to the point where Righteous Glory were completed on Alistar, so you had Wall from Karthus and Righteous Glory to engage fights, and they weren't too far behind because the coordination from Giants were completely off.
I do like the Karthus pickup separated just into the TF in the mid lane, because you can really punish every time he locks a card. You're out of his range almost, you know, with the lay waste, and you can zone him, deny him some CS, and then when he ports to another lane, you can't physically follow him, but you can start channeling Requiem, and you can at least help and maybe go 1-for-1. What did surprise me was how much damage top lane Trundle does in those duels. You know, even 1v2. At one point, Betongyok just panic flashed out in the bot lane. So definitely props to Whirlib. And I feel if we could have had this Whirlib and then a good Pepinero this game, it could have gone differently, because I was
Giants would have won, in my opinion.
Not really impressed with what Pepinero was doing in the mid lane on that TF.
It's pretty difficult, and you could see even when Frederick came to try and assist him in the early game, he was just sat there. So, yeah, I mean, what do you do in that situation? You've got a Karthus that's outranging the TF, just playing on the boundaries of where he can get ganked. We saw the flash burn, but from there's not too much that you can do. Honestly, though, I think in this matchup, we talked about the substitution, how it affected. I don't feel like the jungle had that big of an effect from H2K's side in this third game that Betongyok had to do anything other than just throw out the cocoon and set up the fights.
I agree, but that was the story of the entire series.
Right.
I mean, Lulex could have not played games 1 and 2, and the results may have been the same. Lulex did a lot of time babysitting Odowame's Fizz in game 2, which was great, and made sure that he didn't get punished in any way. But Giants couldn't punish him. I actually want to circle back to what you mentioned, Crepo, about Frederick, because Pepinero, because I don't think we saw Pepinero at his best. I mean, Pepinero has shone all summer split long. Even in losing games, he stepped up, he's put a lot of damage down. He appeared to be a threat. I was not afraid of Frederick. Damn it, I was not afraid of Pepinero at all in this best of 3. And I think a lot of that has to do with Ryu. Ryu did such a good job in the laning phase, always came out ahead regardless of the matchup.
I want to say, yes, it was Ryu showing up in playoff, but also it's a meta change for Pepinero. He did not log in the poke champions we have seen from him before, where his job was basically just sit back and farm, relax, and our team will make sure we get to a mid-game point and you can start having an impact on the poke champions. He played Victor 2 of the games because it was a blind pick. Anyway, that's smart. Victor's fantastic because you can blind pick him in that case. That was smart to get the last pick for Whirlib. Problem was, he lost lane on Victor. That's not supposed to happen, especially not in some of the matchups we saw. And then at the same time, when he picked the Twisted Fate, as you guys have highlighted, the coordination with his team, completely gone. Yeah. Extremely risky TPs in, where it's like his top lane has no TP, he goes for 4v5 team fight, and it's like, he didn't show up. He's going to look back at this series and say that he was probably a big reason they didn't win.
Yeah, it's also a big wake-up call because we were wondering what would happen with the meta shift for the teams, and we have a couple of teams still to play tomorrow as well who are very reliant on that meta, on that poke, and those picks coming in there. So quite interesting to see that Giants at least didn't adapt. And Crepo, there was one more thing you wanted to highlight about Game 3, because you've been looking at the bot lane all 3 games, and this time finally standard lanes.
Yeah, standard lanes happen. I just want to highlight one replay that we had from the game that we can get on your screen right now, and I think it kind of like sums up what happened in this game. And this is Audrey. He's getting caught, and while it may look like, hey, Audrey's getting caught again, just look at the minimap. Godfred is too late, Teleport is too late. Giants are not reading the map. These plays, they don't come out of nowhere, you know. Somehow, you know, if you play enough League, you can start predicting these things. And H2K is a team that does that actually fantastically. You know, there's some minor outplays here, and that's all mechanics. But when it comes to just broad, wide map play, H2K is a step ahead, and Giants just really dropped the ball. And then we shouldn't be talking too much in, you know, this player didn't step up or this player failed this. For me, as a whole, Giants as a team were just so far behind.
And this is a very good example, but in game 2 of the series as well, I distinctly remember Deficio highlighting one of the vision-based plays where H2K had all the tools to tower dive. but they just threatened the dive.
But
It
before
pushed
you
Giants
finish,
away.
I just want to highlight, and then you have Ryu in the mid lane, just taking a tower. That was like quite comical for
But
me.
yeah, but that's the whole point. Low risk, high reward. H2K play the map, they plan ahead. Like you said, Crepo, you know, looking 2 minutes ahead, looking 3 minutes ahead, deciding your actions. In game 2, H2K threatened a tower dive. It forced Giants into the jungle. They found some H2K members. They saw Oduwamne in the mid lane and went, we don't want none of this. They backed away, and they lost the bottom tower uncontested. All the vision was set up for a following dragon. H2K are thinking 2 steps ahead, just something that you've talked about during the split.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, so we just highlight, or you highlight how you don't feel like it's too much.
We're a team here.
We are the same. How you're talking about, it's not really the individual performance too much, it's like strategic. I agree, especially when it comes to lane swap. However, a lot of the reasons H2K were allowed to set up the vision they were and allowed to make the plays was because of individual misplays coming from Giants. Adri dying in the lane against Jan and getting caught out, and then it gives the mid tower, which transitioned into, the bot tower into a mid tower. The misplays from Pepinero on the Twisted Fate. So misplays combined with a team who's very good at seeing the openings makes for these one-sided games where we can see such a big gap in the strategic aspect.
Looking ahead though, when they have to face Origin, the way these games played out, I don't feel if H2K plays like with Betongyok as they did that game, I think but there was a distinct lack of deep vision against Evelyn. They got lucky that Frederick wasn't playing Evelyn to the full potential. He was hovering the wrong lanes at the wrong times. He was approaching from the wrong side. I mean, he tried to gank a Fizz from behind and gave a free Urchin Strike through himself and then got out. So he wasted all his time. Betongyok invaded the jungle twice, didn't drop a single green ward on the camps to attract the Evelyn. So in that sense, in purely strategic play, H2K, they looked strong today, but I feel it's partly because Giants look weak.
Yep.
So I really I just wonder, how strong will Origin be after their, training facilities that they had right now? Or okay, they were at Gamescom. That picture from Niels where he's like, hey. But at the same time, a little break for them might be good.
3 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
They had so much time to practice, so it will be definitely a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, glad you bring it up. Let's take a look at the bracket, of course, with that victory. As said, H2K will advance to the semifinals. That means we will be seeing them in Stockholm, in Swedland, as probably called them. Oh, America. Anyway, we have there H2K beating out Giants Gaming to be up against Origin in that semifinal. And as said, a very interesting matchup. You brought up some very, very valid points. Defisho, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, for the matchup itself, Origin has managed to win out the last 3 games. I think if we get, like, H2K to me, when we have standard lanes, becomes a very different team. Like, they still rely so much on this lane swap and getting that early advantage from it. Again, maybe also because Giants were misplaying the lane swaps. But I think Origin will look at some of these games and they might be able to say, okay, if we pick strong lanes in some situations, that could be one strategy to use. However, I feel like Origin can more than match H2K when it comes to lane swaps. It's going to be a close series. I feel like it always is with H2K. Yeah. Either they're stomping or it's very close in best of 5s.
And we mentioned the gold deficits or the gold leads at 20 minutes for H2K, and it is quite a tale of day and night. They don't tend to go even. They either fall behind a small to large margin or they get ahead. More often than not a large margin, at least in recent weeks. But I mean, as a team, H2K, they either swing and hit or they miss heavily. And I don't think Giants were able to punish many of the mistakes that H2K may have made. Origin will. Yeah,
and looking at individual players, Ryu obviously stepped up. He's a player that so far, if the trend continues, steps up in playoffs. But his adversary in that matchup, Xpeke, is notorious for leaning back a little bit in the regular season, perhaps not, going all too hard, but then leading up to Worlds and in playoffs, he becomes that beast, that monster. I've personally written him off one time where I'm like, yeah, Xpeke may not be the mid laner he's used to be, and then he performed at Worlds fantastically, so that's going to be an interesting matchup. Xpeke against Rio, and I don't think it will be segmented in the mid lane only, even though Xpeke has this, kind of lane-only style. I'll let my team win for ourselves, earlier in the split. I can see that just exploding to different parts of the map as well.
They're both old dogs. These are both boys who've been around a long, long time and they're learning new tricks.
Interpret that as you will.
I was going to say that
he's not that old. He's old. I'm old.
You're ancient.
You're old.
Certainly not time to put him out for pasture yet, because I mean, all you got to do is look at Xpeke this split. He's been perhaps quieter than a couple of the other mid laners that we've seen, like a Forbidden, but certainly his stats are still as good as they have been just for a very long time. So I think if we are seeing Xpeke sitting back, what's he going to show us now in playoffs? If he's being about, within the top 3 mid laners right now, what else can he give us from that mid lane? That's an interesting question.
Maybe one more thing about that matchup before we move on is, well, when we looked at this matchup, we were pretty vocal about the bottom lane matchup and how H2K would definitely outclass the Giants bottom lane, even though it came down to lane swaps a lot of the times. But that is one fantastic matchup.
Yeah, the problem with that matchup that I have is that Mythic came out in this split and they're like, lanes, they don't matter anymore. Just get through them, just start roaming, so play the map. And it's kind of sad because Season 3, Mythic was such a fantastic laner. He was like, he would dodge every skill shot forward. He would not care at all. Like, try to lane against him and you hook, and he will just sidestep, dodge forward, and hit you in the face. It's like, now I'm this close to you. And he wrecked us so many times. And he kind of like has forgone that style because that opens you up to potential ganks. And right now he's more of a roaming style. But purely 2v2 without jungles, 2v2 per skill, fight me. I really want to see like
this magical world that no one lives.
Yeah, especially not solo queue. But yeah, Mythi and Niels against Yarn and Kasing could be a really fun matchup too.
Kreplo, you sound enamored between your comments of Kasing and Mythi today. Who do you love more? Who are you going to pick?
I don't know, man. The fan. I'm just a fan here. The fan always wins, so.
Well, I think for this matchup, though, you just mentioned how Mythi doesn't want to play for lane. Kasing is also roaming.
He said that.
He said that. Yeah. He said, of course. I mean, you always want to win the lane. I mean, you never want to surrender it. Mythi, though, and Kasing are both 2 supports who are very, very good at roaming with the junglers. So we're going to get this fight where it might not be in the bottom lane 2v2. It might just be the junglers and support versus each other around the map. That can simply involve the mid lane.
Yeah, because they have to push. They have to push to get there
first. They got to push
first.
in the mid lane as well. And then we get these 3v3 fights maybe. Then we get TPs coming down.
I feel like we're going so micro. Like we may as well just do the match introduction at this point. But I think one thing
it's going to be a good best out of 5.
One thing that is screamingly obvious that we've not touched on, at least since the caster desk, is just the championship points side of things. Because now, at least with Giants going out, they do walk away with 20 championship points. We know that of the 6 teams here, whoever doesn't qualify either through winning summer splits or through championship points is in the regional qualifier. We've got the bracket filled out. Giants will play 6th. It is the lowest seed, since even if Roccat wins or loses, they own the head-to-head, which means they get side choice. And DeFisher, this is what you were talking about. First round, you have to play. If you win, you go to the semis. If you win, you have to go to the finals. Giants need a miracle to make it all the way through, because the way they played today, I don't think they can beat any of the other teams that will fill out the rest of this bracket.
No, and also coming into the playoffs, Giants lost to Rocket, they lost to Unicorns of Love, they lost to all these teams who made it into playoffs. So they look like the weaker team. They got the lowest seed, just got 3-0 by H2K, so it's not looking great. However, I mean, we have seen upsets before in like regionals. We saw Najin last year in Korea go all the way from there. But I believe they were 5th seed. They beat the KT Bulls who were under them. And then they went up and made it to Worlds and lost to Alliance. So go Europe.
The glass,
that's what we take away from that.
The glass is always half full with DeFiscio. Always.
Gotta say, it's possible.
I do not think it's possible because...
No, but by pure definition, it is possible.
It is possible.
It is just
okay.
not like...
You're technically correct, which is the best
kind of correct.
But I just think there were too many mistakes from a shot calling level, from an individual level. I mean, some of the picks and bans weren't bad, and you can debate them to high, hell, but at the end of the day, it worked for Giants. What didn't work is how they played them in game. And I don't think you can fix that in 2 weeks when everybody else is playing against stronger opponents, playing for more at the moment.
There is a key factor, though, with the championship points that's come from this matchup that isn't on the Giant side. H2K, booking their spot in the semis, now have gained an additional 20 points from moving on. That's the 20 points they need to clear the Unicorns of Love. In the event of a tie, the summer split team that gained the more points will take the tiebreaker. So H2K have put the pressure back on the Unicorns of Love to not only win, but stay ahead of them. So game on for tomorrow.
It's also important. I care a lot about championship points, but DeFiscio feels quite strongly that Rocket are looking a lot better. I don't know who's going to have the edge in that one, but if Rocket are playing better and they win, that's it. I mean, H2K could be the next team that auto-qualifies because of the lack of championship points from some of the other teams in the semifinals.
Before we delve into that potential matchup, though, I just want to highlight, we're talking like, oh, Giants, they're not looking that great. They're not doing that bad. We have to remember where we started the season.
Yeah.
Like, coming into it, I was Giants, they're out. 10th place.
We all were.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And they made it to a fantastic run. They barely, didn't get into playoffs, but the first half of the split was impressive, and they've shown some growth and progression. And I think overall they can be happy with their season.
Sure.
And if you would have asked the Giants at the start of the split, do you want to have a potential run through the regional qualifier to maybe make it to Worlds? It'll be Hail Mary, but you can't. I think all of them would have signed yes.
Any team would have signed yes.
No.
There was 1 week there where they were like, yeah, it's true. One week there they were like, we're gonna make it to Worlds, but I completely agree with you that it's something to be proud of on the side of Giants for that one. And it's all about the race to Worlds. And as said, well, we've been tracking the teams that would make it to Worlds and already have. Also in the international wildcard, we've known that Dark Passage, oh my gosh. Dark Passage beat out Besiktas 3-1 in the Turkish regional finals. That means that they go into the pool of the international wildcard teams that could make it into Worlds. Of course, Detonation Focus Me is already in there, as well as the Chiefs. So that'll be a very cool race as well.
We'll be looking forward to it. We've still got playoffs going on over in Brazil with CBLOL. We've also got the Latin American finals ramping up. They're not quite ready to decide who's going to the international wildcard, but certainly a lot of teams are on their way to Worlds already.
And if there's any region that needs to be paying attention to international wildcard, it's Europe. Because kaboom can happen again.
Too soon.
Yeah.
We're a year later.
We need 10 years.
We're a year later.
10 years.
But I'm very interested to see just how the international wildcard teams have progressed, because it's another full year of professional circuits, another full year of growth. And this is something that you keep seeing more and more leagues, more exposure, more consistent high-level play, even in a smaller region, does result in better play. So I'm actually very excited to see what the IWC teams can do on the world stage.
Definitely go watch Brazil. Some very, very interesting teams. The final again is going to be, the winner of the final is going to be the favorite, in my opinion, going into the international wildcard as well. That is a region that is getting better and better and better. And I think it's very exciting also to see how the teams are boot camping in like EU and in NA this time around.
EU.
Not in EU this time, but NA. And I think it's exciting to watch, other regions grow as well.
And if it's not for the teams, just go watch it for the fans. They have some crazy fans in Brazil. It's the support that they have for such a... Okay, I wouldn't call it inferior in terms of gameplay. Yeah, they're weaker teams right now. They're progressing, but they're weaker. But there's such a massive fan base behind it already. As that grows and bigger, and the production value of these stages also goes up, it becomes quite the party in there.
It's like you, Crepo. Inferior player, but big fan.
Oh!
Well, they have some superstars.
I'll give you some branding tips eventually.
Well, they have some superstars over there. Maybe you should tattoo your arm, Crepo.
Huh?
Maybe you should put something on your forearm, Thresh or something.
A Thresh? I was actually thinking about a League of Legends inspired tattoo. So any suggestions on Twitter?
And where he should put the tattoo.
Where and when?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But talking about superstars and returning to today's series, there was a fantastic superstar in this one, putting the team in their backpack to carry H2K to the semifinals with 3 dominant showings on 3 different champions in 3 games. Obviously, our series MVP is H2K's Ryu, fantastic performance, and then that Karthus in that last one, who has always been incredibly consistent and does deliver to step up in the playoffs.
I mean, this is a player that, again, spring split, regular season, we didn't really see too much from him. Then playoff, he showed up, had a fantastic performance. Summer split, he's been good all around, but he's not been standout. He was now in this series here. And Rio, again, experience, we mentioned it with Pekka as well. Like, these guys, they know when to show up, when to really try hard. And if you can keep playing like this, then we know to have another threat from the mid lane, which is important because normally it's been Jarnen and Odo Amnes like the 2 carries.
And obviously it's very hard for us to decide on MVP. A lot of people that are watching right now will be like, what? You made Rio MVP when Kasing did so well? And if we make Kasing MVP, they're like, what? Rio did so well? So I just want to give an honorable mention to Kasing. His KDA in the series was 47. So the casual 47 KDA, because he has 5 kills, 1 death, and 42 assists. And that's on 2 games of Alistar where he was constantly going in. It's not like Kasing was sitting on the outskirts just healing his team up. No, he was constantly diving in, unbreakable, walking out a couple of times. Yarn had a solid clutch heal to keep him alive, but overall, fantastic performance.
Was the only death that like 4-man tower dive?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, well, it has to be.
Like the only death, the only way you can kill Kasing is you throw your entire team at him and then lose them in the process.
No more fantasy points, though. Sad times. That
Only for me, I lost it anyway. Mark Merrill was cheating.
Oh.
Wow, going out.
Old accusation.
Moving on.
Performance review, anyone?
That was our very first quarterfinal. Of course, there will be plenty more playoffs coming your way tomorrow because the Unicorns of Love are going to take on Roccat in our second quarterfinal matchup. And we'll be here with our pre-game coverage at 5 p.m. Central European Time. That is 8 a.m. Pacific. And immediately following the action here in Berlin, we'll skip across the pond to sunny LA, where Gravity will take on Team Solo Mid for a seat in the NA/LCS semifinals. Yeah, let's look ahead a little bit without blowing everything that we have prepared for tomorrow. Roccat versus the Unicorns of Love. As said, the championship point star with H2K versus UL is becoming incredibly important. And, well, you have the faith in Roccat.
So, I mean, I've had it before, then it disappointed me, then I got it back, then I got disappointed again. But the last few weeks, they've been looking better and better. I think especially Nuke Dog in the mid lane is stepping up big time. And if he can perform, if he can shut down Power Vivo, Unicorns of Love has shown so many times they rely on Power Vivo to have a good game, to really work. Also, new jungler and Horror coming in. I think if Nuke Dog has a good performance, Roccat is going to take it.
I wanted them to win just to have the Horror versus Holo.
Yeah.
Just to have that. That's it. That's all I want.
Yeah, obviously we prepared this matchup all week, and we have multiple.
Trevor.
That's a quality.
I'm contributing. Yes, I'm contributing.
But it's because we don't want to give all the way the points, right? Tomorrow is the pre-game on the match. But yeah, TLDR is it'll be a closer match. These are seeds 4 and 5 in playoffs coming in, so definitely closer. And honestly, the last few weeks, different results from the different teams as well. Unicorns actually went 4 and 2. I believe Roccat went 2 and 4. But even then, Roccat did look better because Roccat have been beating teams that are above them.
Yeah, we will see super interesting matchup. An interesting matchup we've had today. We learned a lot, even though it was not the closest. And remember, as we wrap up here, of course, over in North America, their pre-game coverage for their first quarterfinal between Team Dignitas and Team Impulse will kick off right after this. So don't go anywhere. And until next time, we need to recover a little bit from all that hype, especially here on the desk.
And those burns.
And those burns.
I love you, Crab.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy.
On behalf of myself and everyone here at the European LCS, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Can I get one?
Yeah.